My guess is, like me, you have seen these signs all over businesses, on storefronts everywhere. Signs that say that we are now hiring, that we're looking for workers, we're looking to find people to do the work that we need to get done. This has become a permanent fixture. These are permanent pieces of art in most of these businesses, largely because of something that is happening in our culture. We're experiencing a cultural phenomenon known as the Great Resignation. Between people leaving the workforce in the last couple of months of Omicron, it's like we have all of this work that needs to get done, but we don't have anybody who's willing to do it, or certainly not enough people. Last month's labor report, government jobs report, it shared the staggering statistics that most of us have come to know. It shared that over 20 million people resigned or retired or quit their jobs, left the labor force in the second half of 2021. If you look at the entire calendar year of 2021 plus the first few months of 2022, what you'll see is that more than 40 million people have removed themselves from the workforce. This doesn't show job consolidation. This doesn't report a statistic around layoffs. These are people that have removed themselves from the employment pool. These are people that have resigned, that have retired, that have left work altogether. We're calling this the Great Resignation. There's other names for it as well. You've probably heard it called the Big Quit, or maybe you've heard it as the Great Realization, the Great Reprioritization, the Great Renegotiation. Some people are quite simply calling it a return to family. Regardless of what they're calling it, this is something that we have never experienced before. We are living in a pretty powerful cultural shift. People are choosing to leave their jobs in numbers never before witnessed or experienced. Here are some statistics about who's actually leaving. Of the approximate 40 million people who have left the workforce, baby boomers, they account for more than half of those people, meaning that in the last 18 months, approximately 20 million baby boomers have made the decision to retire. And in many cases, they're retiring early. These are people who have benefited from the booming financial markets. They're benefiting from real estate prices that have increased substantially. They're able to retire earlier than they anticipated. And so what they're doing is they're deciding they don't need their job anymore. They have time, they have resources, they have passion and energy to move the needle, to change the world, to engage in meaningful work at their own discretion. And this has actually been a pretty exciting thing in terms of the great, this great resignation, is that it's giving an opportunity for a large group of people with the means and the time and the resources to do something pretty significant based on their passion. And if that's you, I want to pause just for a moment to say, this church, we need you. We're excited. We have big visions for changing the Kansas City metro to better reflect the kingdom of heaven. We have Vision 2030 initiatives that are moving the needle, closing the opportunity gap, closing the justice and kindness gap, closing the spiritual gap, where we're looking to do some pretty big things. And if you have time and resources and you have the ability and the passion to make a big difference. And so what we see in this Great Resignation, over half of the people that have retired, quit, or resigned from their positions are boomers. Second behind boomers are parents of young children. These are mostly millennial, or in some cases Gen X parents. You see, we've seen over the last 18 months a lot of parents, they have resigned or they have quit. They left their jobs to care for their families. Most of these have become women who are now stay-at-home moms. They've resigned their jobs to now care for their kids because for the last 18 months, the health concerns have really called our kids back into the home. And so people are making that decision to stay at home with their family to care for their kids. There's another group of people behind parents that are large groupings of hourly employees, service industry employees, retail and food service employees. These are people of all ages, really, that are fed up with their jobs. They've been enduring grueling shifts with half of the help and all of the frustration from their clients. These jobs didn't pay them enough before, and they certainly didn't pay them enough during this pandemic. And so a lot of them have left their jobs altogether because they don't need it. In some cases, these people were working second or third shifts. These were second or third jobs that they decided that were not worth it anymore, so they've left the workforce. Finally, there are these overpaid or overworked and underpaid workers that have been engaging in frontline services. They've endured the brunt of this pandemic. These are healthcare workers. These are educators. These are people that are working in grocery stores. And there's a whole bunch of people that have been overworked and underpaid, and they're just burnt out. They're exhausted, and so they're leaving. And so we have all sorts of different kinds of people that make up this great resignation. But whatever the reason, whatever the age, whatever the circumstance, one of the things that we have experienced all together and witnessed is that there has been a great resignation. Here's a graphic representation describing just how many people are leaving. And what you'll see is that this isn't just impacting the names of the industries that I shared just a moment ago. This is broad sweeping. No industry has been untouched by this. In November, over 4.5 million people left the workforce. In December, it was 4.3 million. That represents 6% just in those 2 months of the labor force that is no longer with us. I want to share, though, that one of the things that I see as good news coming from the Great Resignation is that a lot of the people that have resigned are using this as a season for renegotiation. They're leaving jobs that were treating them poorly, that had grueling hours, that were underpaying or underappreciating them. And so what they're doing is they're leaving with the hopes of finding new employment. They're renegotiating their value and their worth. And so they're looking for better jobs, better work cultures, places that would value them, that would meet them where they are. And I think this is a good thing because people are entering into the workforce, receiving higher pay, better benefits, entering into a more flexible culture than ever before. And I think that's a good thing because they're re-engaging work. And work in and of itself is a good thing. It gives us meaning. It gives us value. It gives us purpose. Work is one of the primary ways I think God shapes us to become the best versions of the people we were created to be. You see, work is good. Work is something that gives us life. There is great value and meaning in our work, whether you're employed, whether you're retired, whether you're somewhere in between.